Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Caden Kubler and welcome to Caden's Corner. The NBA Finals start tomorrow and boy do we have a good one. The Boston Celtics will take on the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals and we've got all the storylines for you. Kyrie Irving is back in Boston, the bad blood between the fans and Kyrie after he promised to re-sign with this team just a few years ago. We have Luka versus Tatum, two young stars in the league who will be the next face. This series could go a long way to determining that. Then you have Kristaps Porzingis against his former team. He used to be a Dallas Maverick and now he'll get a shot at revenge. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a great finals matchup, so much better than last year's, and I can't wait. Let's dive right into it. We'll start in the East with the Boston Celtics. There's been a lot of criticism from fans and the media about this team's quote-unquote Mickey Mouse run to the finals, but I'm not necessarily buying it. I think this Indiana team was really good in the Eastern Conference Finals. I know there's been some teams that have been banged up, but at the end of the day, when you win ball games and you have that big of an advantage for the #1 overall seed, you're going to play easier teams. And a lot of the times in postseason basketball, you see injuries and the healthier team wins. So I'm not as worried about that as people think. I actually think it's been a huge advantage for Boston, especially heading into this series. So many people are criticizing this team and their run. So many people have been criticizing Jaylen Brown all season long when he was made the highest paid player in the NBA. People have also been criticizing Jayson Tatum all season long. Nobody cared about the regular season for this team for either one of these guys, and the critics have been here for when Jayson Tatum's had a bad game in the postseason, but he's really stepped it up. We saw when the Celtics made this postseason run in 2022 when they played the Big Three in the Brooklyn Nets. Tatum dropped almost 30 points a game, and then you saw when they played Milwaukee that went to a 7-game series, the defending champions, Tatum dropped that 46 bomb in Game 6, keeping the series alive, going on to average 28 points a game throughout that series. Then we saw in the conference finals when they went to a Game 7 against Miami and the #1 seeded with Jimmy Butler, he dropped 25 points a game, and then we saw this drastic fall off in the finals, and that's where all this criticism has come from. People don't care what Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics do until it comes down to the finals. They have all the postseason experience. These guys aren't young anymore. It's time to get the job done. And Jayson Tatum heard a lot of noise in the first few rounds of the postseason, especially with how easy this run was. He put up less than 22 points a game against the Heat when they won in 5, but then he bounced back, averaging almost 27 points a game against the Cavaliers, and against the conference finals, he averaged over 30 points a game. Unlike this postseason run where they made the finals in 2022, where he had a decrease in production, he's had a major increase this season, and I'm excited for the finals. And then in the Western Conference, we saw this Luka and Kyrie duo get so much praise from the media, and it's deservedly so. They went out and dominated Minnesota in 5 games. Luka Doncic with the crazy step back 3 in Game 2, and then his explosion in the first quarter of Game 5, eliminating Minnesota, and man, he was talking that trash. And Luka Doncic is as competitive as they get. And then his partner in crime, Kyrie Irving, has been so lethal this entire postseason. It seems like he's finally found his home in Dallas. So many people were criticizing this move when the Mavericks originally traded for Kyrie. How would this backcourt work together? Could Luka's style of basketball even win games? And now they're in the finals against a very good Boston Celtics team. Now, when you look at how these teams match up against each other, I think Boston defensively matches up against Luka and Kyrie as best as you can. The Boston Celtics have Derek White and Drew Holiday, 2 second-team All-NBA defenders. They have the best defensive backcourt in the NBA, not to mention Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown's ability to switch and play great defense. I wouldn't be surprised if Jaylen Brown starts this series on Luka Doncic. He's made a concerted effort on the defensive side of the basketball where he's told Joe Mazzulla that he wants to guard the best player on the best team. And so when you look at Boston defensively, I think they have 4 guys that are great and willing defenders against Luka and Kyrie. Now on the other side, Dallas has been so lethal with their high pick and roll, and we saw this in the Minnesota series. Derek Lively will be their true X factor. In the conference finals, we saw Dallas set a very high screen and roll, putting Minnesota in a pickle. Do they want to play drop coverage and let Luka Doncic walk into a 3, or do they want to blitz him and force him to get the ball out of his hands? Because when he gets rid of the ball, Derek Lively is a great passer, and now you have numbers. You're going to have a guy open. You're either going to have PJ Washington or Derek Jones Jr., 2 guys who've shot the ball very well from beyond the arc this postseason. Dallas went from a team who could maybe get out of the first round before the trade deadline to now a finals team who has a real shot at winning the Larry O'Brien trophy. Not only does Boston match up so well against Dallas, but they finally get their 7'3", rim-protecting, three-point shooting big man in Kristaps Porzingis, and he's going to have a massive impact on this series. We didn't see him play much at all this postseason with the calf injury, but Kristaps Porzingis is going to be monumental in this series. Not only for his ability to stretch the floor and shoot the three ball, but they were really missing a true rim protector when Al Horford was out there. Now, don't get me wrong, Big Al was playing monster minutes in the entire playoffs. His ability to hit clutch three-pointers, or when he gets switched on to twitchy guards, Al Horford was huge for this Boston Celtics team. But when you insert a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, who's more versatile on the offensive side of the ball and who's a way better defender, it just gives Boston a massive leg up in this series. Obviously, in a 7-game series, you're going to make a lot of adjustments, but I'm curious to see how Boston will start out playing Luka with the high screen and roll. We've seen teams struggle with this so much, but if I had to guess, I think that Jaylen Brown will start out on Luka, and I think that the Celtics will play a drop coverage with Kristaps Porzingis, meaning that Jaylen Brown is going to need to fight over that screen and get downhill to either try and contest that pull-up three-pointer or prevent him from driving all the way to the basket or giving that lob threat to Lively, which they've been so good at all season long. I think if you're the Celtics, you've got to let Luka get his 30 points per game. You've got to try and contain Kyrie as much as possible, because when you get those other guys activated and you let Lively start playmaking when they have 3-on-2s, that's when they're so deadly, because Derrick Jones Jr. can hit those threes. PJ Washington can hit those threes. Derek Lively is a great lob threat, and obviously Luka and Kyrie can still torch you for 20 points in one quarter or 40 points in one game. I think we're in store for a great finals, but now it's time for me to give you my prediction, and I have the Boston Celtics winning the NBA Finals in 6 games. I think this team has heard all the noise the entire postseason, and not only from this year, but from 2 years ago when they choked in the finals, when Jayson Tatum didn't show up. I believe he's heard all the noise. We've seen him elevate his game. Jaylen Brown is playing peak basketball right now. We saw the criticism after he received his massive deal when he played terrible in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. He won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP this year. The dynamic duo of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum aren't getting talked about enough right now, and I really think they're going to be a problem for this Mavericks team. I understand how great they've been since the trade deadline, that their defense has improved significantly, that their offense is so great, but not enough people are talking about what a mismatch nightmare Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are for this Dallas Mavericks team. With everything considered, Jrue Holiday has elevated his game to the next level. Derek White is always a willing defender and can hit big-time threes whenever you need him. Now you have Kristaps Porzingis, this 7'3" rim protector who can space the floor and knock down threes. The Boston Celtics will simply be too much for the Dallas Mavericks, and I have them winning in 6 games. I'm Caden Kubler, and that's my take.